An unthinkable descent began with no warning. EgyptAir Flight 990 then plunged into chaos on October 31, 1999. A Boeing 747-300 aircraft, designated SU-GAP, a 19-year-old jet carrying 217 souls, including 14 crew and 203 passengers, on its way from Los Angeles to Cairo, with a scheduled stop in New York City. The flight had taken off from John Kennedy International Airport at 1:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and everything seemed normal until approximately 1:50 a.m., when the aircraft began an inexplicable dive from its cruising altitude of 33,000 feet. The flight data recorder later showed the plane losing an astonishing 16,000 feet in just 24 seconds, accelerating past Mach 0.86, which was far beyond its structural limits. The CVR, or cockpit voice recorder, captured chilling sounds and words, revealing a relief first officer repeatedly saying, "I rely on God," in Arabic, moments before the drastic maneuver. This urgent declaration caused deep concern among investigators. The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, the American agency responsible for the inquiry, faced immediate challenges recovering the black boxes, which were found in water nearly 250 feet deep in the vast Atlantic Ocean, about 60 miles south of Nantucket, Massachusetts. Analysis of the FDR data showed the autopilot disengaged. Then the elevators moved to a nose-down position, followed by a rapid increase in engine thrust. Both pilots then attempted to recover the aircraft, but conflicting elevator inputs suggested a struggle or a deliberate action by one of the crew. The NTSB, in its final report released after 2 years of meticulous investigation, involving hundreds of experts and thousands of hours of analysis, concluded that the probable cause was a deliberate act by the relief first officer who intentionally put the aircraft into its fatal dive. This finding was met with considerable disagreement from the Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority, which insisted there was a mechanical malfunction, likely with the elevator control system. They pointed to the possibility of a control surface jam or a faulty component, perhaps even a sudden depressurization event, as alternate theories. The Egyptian report cited different interpretations of the FDR data, highlighting what they perceived as inconsistencies in the American assessment. The lack of a definitive mechanical failure found in the wreckage and the unusual CVR audio complicated the investigation further, leaving many questions unanswered, even 2 decades later. No official motive was ever firmly established for the alleged deliberate act, leaving families of the victims from 12 different nations with lingering doubts and no full closure. The case of EgyptAir Flight 990 remains one of aviation's most perplexing mysteries, a stark reminder of the complexities involved in understanding catastrophic events. The incredible speed of descent from 33,000 feet to 1,000 feet took less than 3 minutes, an unparalleled and horrifying final journey. 1,000 feet a second. Plummet, a deliberate push. EgyptAir Flight 999 on October 31, 1999, saw its Boeing aircraft dive from 33,000 feet, exceeding its design limits, losing 16,000 feet in just 24 seconds. American National Transportation Safety Board investigators spent over 2 years meticulously examining data, including the cockpit voice recorder, central to revealing critical flight deck information. The CVR transcript showed the relief first officer uttering, "I rely on God," 11 times in Arabic, moments before the nose-down maneuver at 1:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This phrase, "Tawakkalt ala Allah," was interpreted by the NTSB as intent to initiate the fatal dive. The flight data recorder confirmed conflicting control inputs, with the relief first officer applying full nose-down elevator, while the captain and first officer attempted to pull the aircraft up with full nose-up inputs, a violent struggle for control lasting approximately 45 seconds. The NTSB concluded a deliberate act by the relief first officer, sparking intense international disagreement. The Egyptian Civil Aviation Authority strongly challenged this, arguing for a mechanical malfunction, perhaps a jammed elevator, or sudden catastrophic structural failure. They suggested "I rely on God" was a common expression of faith under stress, not suicidal intent. Egyptian investigators highlighted perceived inconsistencies in FDR data interpretation, proposing American analysis overlooked mechanical explanations. They questioned the NTSB's swift dismissal of mechanical failure, especially given deep water recovery challenges at nearly 250 feet. The NTSB's exhaustive report involved hundreds of experts and thousands of hours of analysis spanning over 500 pages. Despite immense effort and 90% aircraft recovery by late 2000, the exact sequence of alleged deliberate action and precise motivation remained officially unestablished. This left many questions unanswered and offered no full closure for 217 victims' families from 12 different nations. Detailed examination of the flight control system showed both control sets moved in opposite directions for significant duration, suggesting a direct cockpit confrontation. The plane reached Mach 864, far exceeding its structural speed limit, and impacted the Atlantic Ocean, approaching 600 miles per hour, causing immediate catastrophic disintegration. This extreme conflicting input case became a key piece of the NTSB's controversial conclusion, emphasizing intentional human act over any mechanical fault. The intense debate between the two nations' aviation authorities over this interpretation underscored profound difficulties in determining ultimate truth behind such a complex, tragic aviation disaster when direct evidence, like a pilot's motive, remains elusive. The sheer force of the dive and subsequent recovery efforts by other pilots paint a picture of extraordinary chaos and a struggle that ultimately failed to avert disaster. A rapid plunge from 33,000 feet was not an accident. EgyptAir Flight 990's final moments on October 31, 1999, became a battle of wills and data. The cockpit voice recorder captured 11 repetitions of "I rely on God" from the relief first officer at precisely 1:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, a phrase heard just seconds before the initial nose-down maneuver. American investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board spent over 2 years meticulously examining thousands of hours of flight data and hundreds of expert testimonies. They viewed these Arabic words, "tawakkalt ala Allah," as strong evidence of a deliberate suicidal act intended to crash the Boeing jet carrying 217 souls. This interpretation became the core of their 500-page report. However, Egyptian authorities from their Civil Aviation Authority strongly disagreed, asserting that "I rely on God" was merely a common expression of faith and distress often uttered under extreme pressure, not an admission of intent to cause the 217 deaths. They argued for a mechanical malfunction, perhaps a jammed elevator, or some sudden catastrophic structural defect, as the true cause of the swift 16,000-foot loss in only 24 seconds. The flight data recorder revealed precise conflicting inputs, a violent struggle lasting approximately 45 seconds, where one pilot pushed full nose-down elevator, while the other pilot and the captain attempted full nose-up commands. This deep and direct conflict within the cockpit at 33,000 feet was stark evidence of an internal struggle. Despite 90% aircraft recovery from nearly 250 feet deep in the Atlantic Ocean by late 2000, the profound international dispute over ultimate causation could not be settled. 217 victims from 12 different nations were lost, and complete closure remained elusive for their grieving families. The aircraft exceeded Mach 864, far past its structural speed limits, impacting the ocean at almost 600 miles per hour, resulting in immediate catastrophic disintegration upon impact. The deciphering of the CVR proved to be the most contentious point, with American analysis focusing on perceived pilot intent and Egyptian experts emphasizing potential mechanical oversights and cultural nuances of language. The black box data offered a wealth of truths, but also endless questions about motive and the precise sequence of events, leaving a permanent mark of doubt and uncertainty for all involved. This case highlights immense difficulties in establishing truth in aviation tragedies, when direct evidence of human intent is so heavily debated and motive remains elusive.